More women are exploring the idea of a planned home birth with licensed midwives or nurse midwives for low-risk, healthy, normal pregnancies. But is it really safe? What are some of the pros and cons of giving birth at home, and how do you properly prepare for one? I'm Marla Hicks, a registered nurse, licensed midwife, and an executive director at the Nijoni School of Midwifery here in San Diego. This is Preggy Pals, episode 62.
Is that a plus sign?
Pink or blue? Hospital or home birth?
What type of food should I be eating?
I think I just peed myself. I'm pregnant and I have to exercise.
What pregnancy glow?
Wait, was that a contraction?
Gotta make these pants fit. I've got kinkles.
What do you mean there's more than one?
You've got the symptoms, and now you've got the support you need for a happy 9 months. This is Preggy Pals, your pregnancy, your way. Welcome to Preggy Pals, broadcasting from the Birth Education Center of San Diego. Preggy Pals is your weekly online on-the-go support group for expecting parents and those hoping to become pregnant. I'm your host, Sunny Galt. Have you joined our Preggy Pals Club? Our members get all of our archived episodes, bonus content after each new show, plus special giveaways and discounts. And you will also get a free subscription to Pregnancy Magazine. Big bonus there. See our website, preggypals.com, for more information. And thanks to everyone who is listening to this episode through our awesome Preggy Pals app. You can download it through Apple or the Android marketplace. This is the best way, in my personal opinion, to listen to our show on the go, like when you're out pushing your stroller or if you're waiting for your next prenatal appointment. And it's absolutely free, which is even better considering we all have babies on the way and we need to save our money. So download our app today. Okay, so let's meet our panelists here in the studio. We'll start because we do have a panelist joining us on the phone. But first, let's start with Annie.
My name is Annie. I'm 35. I'm a government contractor. I am due with my third baby in October. Not sure the baby's gender. We'll find out then. And I'm planning a home birth with our expert panelist today.
I love how that works out.
Yeah.
Right? Great birth community here in San Diego. Okay, Christy.
I'm Christy. I'm a very young 41, and I'm an artist and designer, and I'm due Labor Day with my first baby girl. It's a girl, and it's my first baby, and we're planning a birth center birth, but I'm hoping the next one will be a home birth.
Okay. All right, and Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa. I'm 37, and I have a daughter who just turned 1. She was born at home on June 10th last year.
Congratulations. And joining us on the phone is Lori. Lori has been on our sister show, Parent Saver Show, quite a bit. Lori, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I'm Lori Babb, and I am a small business owner and educator in San Diego. I'm 42, and I have 2 children, a 2.5-year-old boy and a 5-year-old boy. The first one was born in the hospital, and the second one was born at home.
All right. And you guys know me. I'm Sunny. I am the host and one of the producers of Preggy Pals. I am pregnant, and last week we found out that we are having 2 babies instead of 1. I'm pregnant with identical twins. Surprise, surprise. But that's going to be a lot of fun. I already have 2 little boys. We are going to be a full house. I'm going to have 4 under 4. We don't know the baby's gender yet, but since they're identical, they're going to be the same. We hope to find out in the next couple weeks. I knew this one was going to be a cesarean regardless. I had some complications with my first vaginal birth, and so it's the best option for me is to go cesarean. And with twins, a lot of times that happens anyway, so I'm okay with it. And also I want to introduce Stephanie here in the studio, just so you guys know. She doesn't have a mic in front of her, but I'll introduce her for you guys. Stephanie is our producer here on Preggy Pals. One of the things I want to mention to you guys with the show, one of the new things that we're doing now is we want you guys to participate in the show as we're recording live. So there's a couple ways to do this. First of all, like our page on Facebook, because we'll be posting some questions. It's a great way to ask our expert questions as we're recording live. And the other thing is, if you are on Twitter, please start following us on Twitter, because each time we record an episode, we're going to have a little Twitter party, and Stephanie will be tweeting out some great information that Marla's going to be sharing with us today about home births. And again, another opportunity for you to ask your own questions and become part of our show. Okay, so we will be right back. Okay, so we are going to kick off today's show by telling you guys about a news headline that caught my attention. Of course, we like to do these headlines that relate to pregnancy. And the title of this is, Would You Let a Dolphin Be Your Midwife? Apparently, this is something that a Hawaii-based institute is pushing as a good thing from the Serious Institute, which I find to be very ironic because I thought this was a joke when I first read it. But the Serious Institute is pushing that couples get in the water with these dolphins, and it's supposed to help, I don't know, make them feel better. They said here, it's all about reconnecting as humans with the dolphins so we can coexist in this world together and learn from one another. They also say children born in the water with the dolphins develop 6 months faster over the first 6 months and have 150 grams more brain weight.
Based on what sample size?
Good questions, really. And they also say they're ambidextrous, which I don't know why that really matters. Like,
if you have a little boy and you want him to be a pro baseball player. Exactly. That's a lot of money right there. Yeah.
Go swim with some dolphins. But anyways, what do you guys think about this? Obviously, it's not that the midwives are catching the baby and doing all the stuff the midwife is doing. So the title is a little misleading. But, it's about bonding with these creatures and developing this relationship to help in your birth.
Sunny, I mean, we're here in San Diego, so there's SeaWorld here. And so I think everybody thinks that these creatures are just very friendly. And I mean, when I was in the Navy, it was awesome to go up on the bridge of the ship and see the dolphins, and they loved playing with the bow wave, and that was just really neat to watch. But in my last job in the Navy, I dealt with, I wasn't actually in the water with the dolphins, but a lot of the exercises that I would develop were dealing with dolphins finding sea mines.
Okay.
These are wild animals. In a previous job, I dealt with dolphins that were trained as force protection assets. They would attack swimmers in the water. So these are even when they're trained, they're huge, 600-pound wild animals.
Yeah.
They're dangerous.
I think
so. I would certainly wouldn't do it. And I worked with dolphins. Maybe that's why I wouldn't do it, because I just know that they're not these smiley things that,
that's exactly what I was going to say.
At you at SeaWorld.
If you guys look at this picture, I know you guys
so
listening
cute.
at home
Yeah.
can't see this, but the dolphin always looks like it's smiling. It's happy and it's smiling, and why wouldn't you want to give birth next to this thing? But that's not always the case, as Annie mentioned. Okay, so Marla, I know you have some experience with this. You've been asked to do something like this before?
I was asked to do an ocean birth with dolphins, and I had to turn it down. There were a number of reasons. I had concerns about dolphins as mammals in the wild. I also had other concerns that had to do with other kinds of animals that are attracted to human blood.
Ooh, yeah.
This is not a bloodless birth. We can't encapsulate your placenta very well either, taking it to shore in tow with the baby. How are we swimming back? It just, it really was not a situation that I wanted to put any pregnant woman or even myself in. So I respectfully declined. I don't know what happened to the prospective client, but
so you didn't pursue a joint
not,
venture with
no,
SeaWorld's
dolphin pool? No.
We can have a special package, Give birth with our dolphins. Women all across the world have been giving birth in their homes since the beginning of time, but the concept is still a bit concerning to many people here in the United States. So what exactly happens during a home birth, and is it considered a safe way to birth your baby? This is the first episode in a new series here on Preggy Pals, exploring your childbirth choices. And joining us here in the studio is Marla Hicks, a registered nurse, licensed midwife, and executive director of the Nizhoni School of Midwifery here in San Diego. Hi, Marla. Welcome to Preggy Pals.
Thank you.
Okay, so what is the definition of a planned home birth? And I want to make that distinction because, a while back we did an episode on
unassisted childbirth.
Unassisted childbirth, correct. And that's a little bit different. Okay, so when we're planning a home birth, what typically happens?
Well, most women who are considering a home birth know fairly early on in their pregnancy that they're considering it. Mm-hmm. And so when we're talking about what kind of care is given, we as licensed midwives, and the same would be said for certified nurse midwives, are licensed to provide care throughout the prenatal period and also intrapartum during labor and birth and the immediate postpartum, then the follow-up postpartum care and the newborn care. Licensed midwives are licensed to provide that newborn care for the first 6 weeks of life. So when you're planning a home birth, you're not just planning to have this sort of willy-nilly kind of experience. It's an intentional experience. Most women and their husbands or partners who choose home birth go into it with quite a bit of good information. They are well researched. They're concerned and caring about their child's safety. They're also concerned about their own personal experience of birth and feel that that's important and that does not make them selfish or narcissistic to be concerned about what kind of experience their family is having in welcoming this new baby. So we see the women prenatally, then we attend them for their labor and birth, and then we see them postpartum, and of course we see their newborn too. We give full service care in that respect. Provided everything is going well and things are low risk, we can continue with the plans to have the baby at home.
Yeah, I have a question for Marla. What's the difference, or is there a difference in the prenatal care that a mother would get between working with a midwife for a home birth versus working with an OB?
Well, thank you for the question. Generally, one of the major differences is that as licensed midwives, we have an opportunity to spend more time with the patient. I think that there are a lot of obstetricians who wish that they could have more time with patients. However, as licensed midwives or as certified nurse midwives, we have the opportunity to spend usually an hour for a prenatal visit, and we get a lot done during the hour. It's not just chit-chat, but the environment surrounding the prenatal visit is important. It's important that we have the opportunity to find out from the mom, how are you really doing? How are things going in your home? Are you eating well? Do you have stresses? Do you have concerns? How are your sleeping habits? How's your energy level? Tell me about all of these things. And that gives us a very complete picture as to what's going on. And it makes a difference in terms of outcomes. And unfortunately, the way that our healthcare system is set up, even if an obstetrician wanted to spend that amount of time, he or she would be hard-pressed to do so.
One of the big questions that I think a lot of people have when they hear that someone's considering a home birth is, oh my gosh, is that safe? And as I said, in the beginning of this episode, women do this all around the country because this is just how it's done. But I still feel there's a little bit of a stigma here that you're really doing something that's kind of fringe here. And, wow, you're a risk taker, you're giving birth at home. So what would you say to that, Marla?
I hear all the time, oh, you're so brave.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually feel that way, that you guys are very brave because I'm not that brave. Anyways, what do you say to people, Marla, about the safety issue that people have?
I actually attend home births because I am not a risk taker, and I do feel that it is safer. I've worked labor and delivery, postpartum, the nursery, and so forth. So I've had a good amount of experience within the hospital setting, and I've also worked in a freestanding birth center. And my experience is that home birth is very, very safe under the right circumstances. If you have one baby that is head down and the mother is in vibrant good health and she has a good medical and obstetrical history, then she is probably a very good candidate for a home birth. I think that people misunderstand what happens at a home birth. They think perhaps that we don't monitor the baby's heart rate, or we just show up at the last minute to catch and you're on your own before that. There are a lot of misconceptions about what happens at a home birth. But really, we do everything we can to create a very safe environment. Our job is to watch for complications and to either set those right or make the call that says we need to go into the hospital at this point in time because we're trending in the wrong direction.
Okay. We had a question from one of our Facebook friends. Kelly Roby wants to know, is it safe for women over 35? She says that she had 2 natural intervention-free births before. Does that help the fact that, you've already kind of been through a natural labor before? Does any of that help in having a successful
See, Kelly's
home birth?
my fake name. No, this is Annie. Yeah, because I am 35 and I have had two children.
Okay.
And now I'm pregnant with my third. So, yeah.
Yeah,
But I think that's the question. Does
Yeah.
advanced maternal age play a factor in home birth?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to play a factor in home birth. Part of the difficulty in answering this question is that we individualize our care very precisely for each person involved.
Right.
But there are times when being 35 or older can make a difference. There are other times when it doesn't seem to create any difficulty at all, and many times we really can expect that things will go quite normally, particularly if someone has had children before.
Yeah.
So I don't think that it's a huge factor in and of itself. You have to look at the whole picture.
That was actually one of the things that was really reassuring to me because I was over 35. I was almost 37 when I had my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
When I was interviewing midwives, I did see an OB for an initial visit, and the whole office, the nurse, everyone was concerned with my age and with all the testing that they needed to do because of my age, as if my body had some sort of alarm clock that went off at 35 and said, oh, you can't do this now, or there's going to be problems. And it was never an issue with my midwives. I was just Lisa.
Yeah. Yeah, and a note to our listeners, we actually just did an episode on advanced maternal age. So if you guys want more information about that and what that entails and what typically happens, be sure to check out that episode. Okay, well, we're going to take a quick break, so we'll be right back. Welcome back. Today we're learning all about home births, and our special expert is Marla Hicks. Marla is a registered nurse and a licensed midwife. So Marla, why would you say that most women choose to have home births?
From my point of view, most women choose to have home births because they are concerned with bringing their baby into a situation that is, they want to have a physiologic labor. They want to have an undisturbed labor. They want to have a labor and birth experience that feels supported and where they can expect to have some say over procedures, and that their vote counts about that, and that they don't need to anticipate having an argument. So I would say that for some people it has to do with a safety issue in the other direction than the way that most people look at it, as a safety issue. Most people think home birth is unsafe. From my point of view, most women who are choosing home birth feel that it is safer, and that's why they choose a home birth.
It's really a unique perspective, yeah. Ladies here in the studio who have had home births, and then also, Lori, we'll get to you on the phone as well. What was your reasoning for wanting to pursue this? Is it the same stuff that Marla's talking about? Did you have some different reasons, Annie?
My first birth in the hospital was fine. I didn't realize, I think, what I was missing with midwifery care prenatally. And again, it wasn't my obstetrician's fault. She had to get through a certain amount of people in the office. Waiting room was always packed.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to spend a lot of time with her. But the birth was fine. Postnatally, though, in the hospital, it was a really rough entrance for my baby. There was a lot of concern of her size, a lot of kind of mess ups in the hospital regarding her care. She wasn't treated gently at all. So it was just a really hard time postpartum. And so I wanted to be in a place where, the birth would be fine, but then, postnatally, that I would just have my baby with me and no one would be bugging her for, we need this injection, we need this test, we need this, and we need this, and we need this.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. What do you think, Lisa?
Well, I work in hospice, so part of my job is to help people die at home. And to me, birth and death are the two most sacred times in our lives. And so it was never a question to me where I was going to have a child if I decided to become a mother. And the idea of having my daughter in the privacy and comfort of my own home, where I could be left to labor however I wanted, wherever I wanted, without anyone talking to me if I didn't want them to, without the noise and the bright lights and the activity of a hospital, not to mention the germs and the concerns about the interventions. I knew that it would be the right place for me because of the privacy, comfort, and peace.
Lori, on the phone, what was the reason that you chose home birth?
Well, I could probably talk like a whole show about it, but like briefly, my first birth was supposed to be a natural birth that I was going to have with midwife support in the hospital, and it's turned out to be like so unnatural. And so then I was very curious with the second one, why did it turn out that way? And so how much do I really still need to learn about birthing? And this is a really amazing thing that I really knew nothing about. And so then I really did some research, and there was also that kind of, as the other panelists said, that knowing that the birth is a really sacred time and wanting to contribute to the peace and just the right vibe, let's say, of the birth as much as I could, that I felt wasn't really as possible in the hospital. So since it, if it was possible for me, I wanted to try the home birth, because I also knew that I wasn't going to have any more children. And I was actually 36 with the first one, and then just about 39, 1 month shy of 39 when I had my home birth. But and I wasn't, I was pretty healthy, but I had complications with the first birth, so it took a lot of kind of working through of fear, and that was one of the big things too. I noticed that my first birth was the prevailing emotion around it was fear, and I really don't want to live out of fear. I really try to work on living more out of trust and love, and these kind of more positive states of being. And so I said, as fearful as all the energy is often when you hear about home birth, people say, oh my gosh, is that safe? I had actually, with my research and my experience itself, I realized that my hospital birth was, likely far more risky for me and my child, the way it turned out, than probably the home birth was going to be.
Right. Marla, what would you say some of the benefits as well as the risks are of home birth?
As far as the benefits are concerned, they are many. I think that the ability to choose what is important to you and to be able to prioritize and feel that your choices will be respected is very important. And that's not just about whether or not you have candles burning or nice music playing. These are real choices that women and their husbands or partners are making with regard to being able to birth in a variety of positions, being able to have something to eat or drink during labor, being able to allow the umbilical cord to continue to pulsate until that complete fetal maternal transfusion is done, because those are the babies, that's the baby's first stem cell transfusion. So that's important. Those kinds of issues, and some things that were mentioned earlier included avoidance of what we call the cascade of interventions in obstetrics, which can often result in unwanted outcomes in terms of a cesarean section. Sometimes those are important, and sometimes those are done unnecessarily. And so women have quite a few benefits that they can expect to accrue from having a birth at home, but really a lot of what happens that is of value happens prenatally. And so the amount of time that we're able to take with a woman, being able to counsel with her, listen to her concerns and her fears, being able to advise her about her nutrition, we, as a result of that kind of care, are able to frequently avoid problems such as preterm labor, abruptio placenta. There are a number of benefits that really accrue that are beyond the niceties, the comforts, the things that women enjoy, but are often accused of being selfish. There's just an array of benefits.
Marla, let's talk a little bit about the risks. I want to make sure that we, cover everything here. So tell us a little bit more about the risk associated with home births.
The risk that is involved is distance from a hospital if you have a time pinch emergency. Mm-hmm. Those don't happen very often, but when they do happen, you need to be prepared to make a ready transport. I think that we diminish the risks quite significantly when we are careful about our risk assessment at the beginning of the pregnancy and over the course of the pregnancy. Our goal is to have a healthy woman and healthy baby. So we start our care by ensuring that that's who's coming into care. If she needs to be nutritionally shored up and maybe taught some new ideas about what she can do to improve her nutrition, then we do that. We're monitoring the entire way in terms of the progress of the pregnancy to make sure that she stays not only low risk but healthy. We want her to be vibrantly healthy by the end of the pregnancy. If someone isn't vibrantly healthy, if they're having issues, then they need to be risked out. So you dramatically decrease the risk of home birth by making sure that you have someone who is very, very healthy and strong by the end of the pregnancy. However, there are things that can occur during a birth. For example, you may have problems with fetal heart tones that are unexpected, particularly since we're not giving medications at home and women are allowed to eat and drink and be upright. We really don't anticipate having problems with fetal heart rate, but we're still checking for it. And so if we find that there are problems with fetal heart tones, if we find that there's lack of progress or the mom is becoming exhausted because of a longer labor, then those are the things that are going to take us into the hospital. Some complications or even emergencies are actually, in my opinion, afforded better options at home in the sense that you may be able to move the mother, whereas if she's completely anesthetized with an epidural, you may have difficulty with that. And shoulder dystocia is an example. I know that that's the big scary, but when we have a shoulder dystocia situation at home, we're able to move the mother into a variety of positions very quickly. She is unanesthetized. We are trained to handle these kinds of complications, and that is the kind of complication that you must handle on the spot. But I think the point of all of this is to say that home-based midwifery care is designed to be safe and to be attentive. And if we see in our observations that things are not going well, the plan is to move her into the hospital and to create as seamless a transport situation as we can so that it can be handled efficiently and quickly, and so that we don't have a bad outcome.
So, Marla, what is actually needed for a home birth?
Many people think that you have to have an array of supplies. In actuality, the couple orders a box of supplies. It comes to their home. It has the disposable kinds of things that they need for the home birth, things that are specific for them in terms of just maintaining good quality control, infection control. So there are disposable underpads, there are sterile gloves, there are little packets of gel. There are straws. There's a variety of things that come in this box, and that's really all that the couple needs to have, in addition to things like sheets and pillowcases and an assortment of things that they normally would have around the home. We like towels in our practice, lots of towels. So especially if you're planning a water birth. So we have a list of things that are recommended, and we ask that the couple make sure that they have those things on hand. So that's really not difficult. As far as equipment is concerned and what midwives bring to the birth, I'm kind of obsessive about equipment. I have backups to my backups. So I just want to make sure that there's not something there that I wished I would have had. So I bring in 3 rolling tackle boxes, essentially. We keep them well organized, and everything is inventoried, and everything is ready for the birth. I'll probably use 3% of that in any given birth, but it's my comfort zone, and I'm going to keep it that way. So I'm kind of the equipment midwife. I know that there are midwives who work with much less equipment, but I really like to have it. So things that we're allowed to bring to a birth as far as safety, kinds of helpers include things like IV fluids, medications that are anti-hemorrhagics. We have oxygen, although the parameters and recommendations as far as oxygen at births have changed, but we do still carry it in case we need it. There's an assortment of instruments that we use. We are allowed to suture, although we don't suture more than a 2nd-degree laceration. We don't see very many of those. So We have the basics that we need, and I do everything that I can to keep them in the tackle boxes. But if we need them, they're there.
So the ladies that have had home births, is there anything you would add to that list or anything you would advise mothers who want to have a home birth to have on hand, Annie?
Food. Lots of food.
There you go.
Yeah.
And no restrictions on food, right? Can you have whatever?
That was glorious
Yeah.
because, I'm a labor doula, and there's quite a few hospitals that, okay, it's okay to drink things, but eating. And
I couldn't eat anything with my vaginal birth.
Yeah.
I had ice chips, and that was it. They wouldn't let me have anything.
I mean, it got harder as things progressed. Like eating early on, I was, having a great time and eating, like cooking. And then I got to, it was like 7-8 centimeters, and the decision was made, okay, it's more appropriate to go in the hospital. And Marla's like, oh, you have to eat before you go. I'm like, no, like I think I just thrown up or something. And I was just like, but yeah, just being able to nourish myself.
We planned for all this food that I thought that I might want to eat, and it turned out that I didn't want anything to do with any of it.
Yeah.
I remember very distinctly they handed me a cracker to eat, and I took a bite of it, and I told them with some colorful language that I didn't want anything to do with it, and I threw the cracker, which we found about 6 weeks after my daughter was born, under the bed. He said, I found this cracker with a bite taken out of it. I said, that's for my labor.
Save that for the baby book.
Yeah, exactly. So other than the supplies, we did have a birth tub, and we had lots of towels to protect just to protect the carpet.
Okay. Yeah. What about you, Lori? Is there anything you would recommend that new moms have on hand?
I think it's all been said. I did have a birthing tub, too, and I think sometimes women obsess about that, and they like, oh, do I need the best one? I actually got a $25 kiddie pool, and it was perfect because I actually ended up only being able to use it for maybe a half hour. And, so I just want to throw that in because I know that's sometimes something that people labor over, oh, my goodness, and then they might not even actually use it. So I was really glad, and we're actually still using the kiddie tub now. So cool.
The kids are still enjoying that.
So it's a great investment.
And I know we could talk about this for hours and hours. There's so much to go over with home births, and I know we just scratched the surface, but we are running out of time. So thank you, ladies, for being part of our conversation. Marla, for being here today.
Thank you.
If you want more information about our experts and our panelists, please visit the episode page on our website. This conversation continues for members of our Preggy Pals Club. After the show, Marla will give us her list of the top questions you should ask midwives before you hire them for your home birth. To learn more about our club, you can visit preggypals.com. Before we wrap today's show, here's Jeanette McCulloch with some of the best online pregnancy resources.
Hello, Preggy Pals. I'm Jeanette McCulloch of Birthwell. We at Birthwell believe that you as a mother will make the right health decisions for your pregnancy and birth when you have access to evidence-based information and a strong support system. That's why I'm here to share with you new media tools to find the information that's right for you. You may have heard of Ine Gaskin. She's the legendary midwife who founded the Farm Midwifery Center in Tennessee in the 1970s. She'll tell you just how important it is to hear birth stories, all kinds of birth stories, while you are pregnant. If you are showing, you have probably already heard more than one unsolicited birth story. If it was well-meaning, but felt a little more like a war story than a love story, you are not alone. There's something about our birth culture that makes the sharing of positive stories taboo. But, as Ina May would say, while stories can't tell you what your own experience will be like, they can illustrate how wide the range of normal birth is. That's why birthstoriesondemand.com is such a great resource for preparing for birth. Click on the Read a Birth Story, and you'll find everything from natural birth stories to home births to quick births. While there's plenty of positive options to explore, including sections on midwife-assisted births, the site doesn't shy away from the kinds of stories that help us know the full range of experiences, including perinatal mood disorders. You can also listen to her podcast, watch her new birth stories on Twitter, and of course, share your own birth story if you'd like. You can find the site at birthstoriesondemand.com. Thanks for listening to today's tools for finding the information that's right for you, and be sure to listen to Preggy Pals for more great pregnancy tips in the future.
That wraps up our show for today. We appreciate you listening to Preggy Pals. Don't forget to check out our sister show, Parent Savers, for parents with newborns, infants, and toddlers, and our show, The Boob Group, for moms who breastfeed their babies. Next week, we're talking about pregnancy food cravings. What do they really mean? This is Preggy Pals, your pregnancy your way.
This has been a New Mommy Media production. The information and material contained in this episode are presented for educational purposes only. Statements and opinions expressed in this episode are not necessarily those of New Mommy Media and should not be considered facts. While such information and materials are believed to be accurate, it is not intended to replace or substitute for professional medical advice or care, and should not be used for diagnosing or treating healthcare problem or disease or prescribing any medication. If you have questions or concerns regarding your physical or mental health or the health of your baby, please seek assistance from a qualified healthcare provider.
Hey mamas, don't forget to check out Mighty Moms. It's our online community built for new moms just like you. Not only can you connect with other moms, but you can also join us backstage for special mom-only online events. And you'll also be notified when we're recording so you can join us as a special guest. Visit our website, newmommymedia.com, and click on the Mighty Moms banner. It's free. That's newmommymedia.com. See you there.